Hi everybody, here's a yellow pad that you can draw out when you're talking to a seller that has very little equity. Your focus is to talk about the traditional ways to sell or rent a property. Let's just have some given information. Let's say we have a $100,000 house. Let's say that we owe 95 as a payoff on the first mortgage, and let's say that market rent's $1,000. And the seller has tried to sell with an agent, it hasn't worked out. So you got an expired listing. What you want to do is to kind of be the doctor with the seller. You don't want to spill all your solutions to them. You do want to work off a grid like this because it helps you understand how to portray all their choices and the pluses and minuses. And I like this kind of orientation because it helps you stay on track when you present to the home seller, but it also helps the home seller not get confused. And to me, this is like a brainstorming solution. It says, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let's just talk about all the possible choices you have. And on the left side, we're going to talk about the traditional solutions. And selling with an agent and renting it out are two traditional solutions. But we're going to talk about two other options. One is option one, and the other one's option two. So you could start with that traditional option one, option two. Now, traditional marketing a house with an agent, they need to make a commission. So if you subtracted all the commissions and the closing costs, here's a sample of a HUD-1, show them a HUD-1. But there's other costs involved. If you don't price the property correctly, your holding costs, what it costs you and the number of months from the time you have a vacant house and start a listing agreement to the end of that listing agreement to the closing, you got to get paid. The holding costs are the PITI payments and the energy costs and everything else that it costs to cut the lawn and all these holding costs. You've got to factor that in when you sell with an agent. And you've got to compete. The spruce up costs, you've got to compete with every other $100,000 house so that it sells quickly. So that might be paint and carpet and spruce up costs. And that's just on top of the commissions and the closing costs. So generally, a rule of thumb is it costs Mr. and Mrs. Seller between 10 and 12% of the value of the house to be able to sell with an agent with all those costs together. So you've got to say, okay, do I want to net 88% of the value of the house if I sell it with an agent, and do I want to take 4 to 6 months to sell it? Now, if you want to sell it faster, you go under the CMA to be able to list it properly in the marketplace. And a lot of sellers don't want to do that. A lot of sellers say, well, why don't I try to get 105% as the listing price and then we'll negotiate down. Well, that's the biggest mistake you can make selling with an agent. And that might have a vacant house for 6 to 12 months. So the smartest play is to put it on the market for like 95% of comps and get a lot of buyers through and then sell it and pay the cost to sell. Now, renting it out is another choice. You can do it yourself or pay management fees as a property manager to do that. And there's a lot of tenants out there that could care less about landlords. They could care less. The damage that they put in can be a lot more than their security deposit. Let's say it's first and last month's rent and you only have 1 month security, but you have like 3 months rent and damage. And lastly is an eviction kind of gamble. If you have to go through an eviction, sometimes if you look at your landlord-tenant laws, it's harder to get them out with an eviction. And you still have to pay your principal and interest, taxes, and insurance every month. So those are traditional issues. And A and B might be a good play for you or a good solution for you. Let's go through my particular solutions and you tell me if you like this. We have two options. We have option one and option two. Option one is I, myself, are going to pay the following. We're going to pay principal and interest, whatever that mortgage payment is. We're going to pay the taxes, and we're going to pay the insurance, and we're going to pay the maintenance. All those are paid. The big question is, you got to ask yourself, can you keep the loan in your name for 3 to 5 years and then at the end of that time pay off the existing financing, whatever you owe? I don't say subject to. I say, I will pay the following. Can you do this? Because if you can't do this, option one's gone. Can't do anything about it. Option two is where we work basically as a principal in an arrangement where we're going to lease with an option from you and then assign the deal for a fee. I will find a tenant to pay very close to your PITI payment for 24 months. It might be even 36 months. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get the mortgage. The bottom line here is you pay the insurance and you pay the maintenance, but you keep the deed in your name. You own the house. You turn your residence into an investment property. You also get tax benefits. But what I'm going to do at no cost to you is find somebody to move in here, pay very close to your PITI payment, whatever that is, and you pay your insurance and your maintenance and your taxes, while the PITI payment is a tax compound account, impound account. All right. So, of these two options, which one do you hate the least? Do you hate option one or option two? It's up to you. But I'll do either one of these for you. Okay? And then I generally put on the top of the paper, if you do option one, chances are you're going to get about 95% of appraised price in your hand. And it's down the road. It's not today. Same thing over here. You're going to get about 95% because there are going to be some kind of costs when, your basic the tenant buyer buys the house. There's going to be some kind of seller's concessions or something along those lines. So, you do have to get your head around that. So I hope you like this recording about the difference between the traditional ways to sell and then my option one and option two. Okay, thanks for listening.